Hello and welcome back to our second video in the Mentor Orientation series. And this video is entitled The Mentoring Relationship Off to a Good Start. So for many of our mentors, when they agree to be a mentor, they've actually never met the person that they're going to be working with for 2 years. So that first event where they get together is actually very important because it establishes the foundation for the relationship. It's important to recognize that with every matchup between leader and mentor, the relationship is going to look differently. So let's say there's a continuum here, and at one end of the continuum you have a relationship that's formal, structured, business-like, maybe like a relationship between you and your doctor or some other professional. At the other end of the continuum, you have a relationship that's informal, loosely structured, more like a girlfriend or a buddy. And it's important to understand that there is actually no right or wrong. Both relationships or anything in between can be effective, and it largely depends on who the leader is, can be culturally defined, but it's important for us as mentors to enter into this relationship with flexibility and a willingness to adapt to where the leader is. And certainly it's important to keep our expectations in check. So when you come to the first event, you're going to have an opportunity to meet your leader. And your goal will be to build initial rapport. In other words, get to know each other. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. Some have used photos to share about each other's lives. They share about their hobbies, their interests. And others have even used the results of personality tests just to give an idea of who it is you're working with. Because you want to know as much as you can about your leader. But at the same time, you don't want to be a mystery to them either, because they want to know who they're working with. So the goal is to get to know each other, build trust, and of course, this is a very, very important step. Okay, so after you've had a chance to get to know each other, build some rapport, the second most important thing that's going to happen at that first event is the leader with you is going to develop a leader development plan. And in this plan, the leader will outline the growth areas or the areas that he or she wants to focus on and develop in the first year. And it can change over the course of the year, but every leader will leave with an initial plan. So now you've been to the first event, you've met your leader, you have a plan in hand, and now you're going to be meeting electronically for the next year. The question is, what are you actually going to be talking about in the mentoring conversation? And to answer that question, we have adopted the approach found in the book by Keith Webb called the Coach Model. And Keith Webb follows 5 steps that actually spell out coach, connect, outcome, awareness, course, and highlights. And we're going to be looking at each one of these in more detail. But these 5 steps will help give structure to your mentoring conversation. Now, before we look at these 5 steps, I just want to say you don't need to be super rigid. In fact, Keith Webb, in his book, made this statement: meeting regularly will help people, regardless of how proficient you are in your new coaching skills. Don't worry about using the whole coach model for each conversation. Use whatever part is helpful to that person and that conversation. So let's just keep that in mind as we go through these steps. So the first step is connect. And this is the start of every conversation. Now our tendency is to want to make the most of our time and just jump right into the work. And this can actually be a mistake. I would like to say a word about the power of small talk. This is just that chit-chat at the beginning of a conversation. It could be about the weather, family, health, or some hobbies. But it's actually not wasted time. Chit-chat or small talk reestablishes a rapport. You haven't communicated likely for at least 2 weeks, This is a way to get reconnected. And it also gives context to the mentoring conversation. It helps you understand what's been going on in your leader's life since the last conversation. So take some time at the beginning of every conversation for some small talk. Another important part of connecting at the beginning of each mentor conversation is reviewing action steps. Action steps are kind of like the glue or the connection between the different conversations. When you go over action steps, it marks progress towards a goal. It builds momentum. It also gives direction to the current conversation. So at the beginning of each conversation, a mentor might ask a question like, "What progress have you made on your action steps from last time?" Well, we've got the mentoring conversation off to a good start, and that's the end of video number 2. In video number 3, we're going to continue to develop this mentoring conversation that you're going to have with your leader on a regular basis. And video number 3 is entitled Outcome and Awareness. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.